Hey YouTube, so is AI Enigma here, and so this is our first video on Lrdi series. So this is a moderate difficulty set, and if you're trying to opt for it, it should be ideal minutes should be 13, and if you want the max time that you should give to the set is 80 minutes. And after 80 minutes, if you're not able to solve it, look at the solution. And so let's get into it. So the set says that 9 horses participated in a horses tournament. 5 races were held in this tournament. Okay, the winner of the race gets 5 points, the first runner-up gets 3 points, and second runner-up gets 1 point, and the others do not get any points. The table below gives the points earned by each horse at the end of the tournament. So the overview that I'm getting is that there is a race that's been going on, and there are 9 horses that participated in a horses tournament, and 5 races are there. So already I'm trying to figure it out if there are not so much conditions. So I have to make 9 horses, which means like 9 rows, and I have to make 5 columns for the you can say races. So let's move on. One race is held between 5 horses. Now this is an interesting condition. So we don't have to. First thing you have to imagine, all the 9 horses are not participating in the race. First race is being participated in these 5 horses. Okay. Now what occurs onto that? It's further elaborating. The first race is held between the 5 horses from left in the right table above. Out of these horses, A drops out of the race and a new horse that is F interested into the race, which means like in the next race, A is probably going to drop out and the next 5 race is being held in these 5. In the next race, B also drops out and the next race is being held in this manner. The next race is going to happen. In the next race, B drops out at G enters and so on. It is also given that H is the only horse that scored in 2 consecutive races. So the important information that we have to recognize that H is the only horses that scored in 2 consecutive races. Okay, so if there are only 2 spots where some sort of number has to go, so it's the only position is for H. So I've already made the table. So let's look onto the table. So this is the table. Now first thing that you have to realize is the first 5 like the race is being held between these 1 A, B, C, D and E. So these are not participating in the races. Similarly, on to the next race, A is not participating and G, H and I are not participating. In the next race, A and B are not participating and these are not participating. In the next race, these 3 are not participating, this is not participating. In the next race, these 4 are not participating and these 5 are participating. And this is fine. And the scores of these races of these horses, I've already written these in the yellow spot behind, like just below the race corner. Now trying to approach this set, first thing that I'm going to looking for is the maximum and minimum spots and the least amount of spots, like proper Sudoku logic. That's nothing more. So first thing is that I'm looking at this 5. There only has to be like first thing I'm also going to write this just in case. First got 5, second got 3 and third got 1. So this the only place that a 5 can go is here. So 5 is done, A is done. Next out of the spot, 5 has to come here. And one thing that I'm going to reiterate again, that in one column there has to be a single 1, 5 there has to be a single 3 and there has to be a single 1. Okay, so there only one guy get 5, only one horse can get a rank of 3, a score of 3, and only one person can get a score rank of 1. So that's fine. Now 5 has to come here, 5 cannot come here, so 5 has to be here. Okay, so this value has to be a 0, so B has to be done. Now looking at the opposite tangent, I'll look at I. Now I itself, like there's a single 0 here, so it's not scoring here. Now also one of the things that it's important that H is the only horse which scored in consecutive 2 races, and we can also see that 10 can be already be made by 2 numbers. That has to be 5 and 5. So this value has to be a 5 and this value has to be 5. So H is also done here, I is also done here. Now one thing that you have to notice that 4 can be made with only 3 and 1, and they don't need to they must not be consecutive. So the only place for 3 and 1 to go here is 3/1 or 1/3, considering the possibilities. So G is also done. Now one thing that you have to notice that 8 can be made by only 5 and 3. That's the only possibility. The 8 can be made. So 5 cannot come here. 5 cannot come here because it's already been done. So 5 has to be here, and so 3 has to be here, which means we put a 0 here. Now D can be made. So C is also done. Now D can be made 2. So 2 can be only found by 1 and 1. Now the possibility arises either 1 is this or this or this or this. So we are not so sure, so we'll leave it. On to the next, we want to form a 5. Now 5 can be made by 3 possible, one possibility. One possibility is 111, like 5 times 1, Another possibility is 3 1 1. Another possibility is 5 0. Now if you look closely onto it, in this spot 5 is done, 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 and in this spot 5 is done. So which means this possibility is eliminated. On to the next spot, we could have made 5 with triple, like 5 times 1, but the condition states that only H is the only one who has scored in 2 consecutive races. So this is also done. So automatically we have opted onto a condition which is 3 1 1. 3 1 1 is the only possibility here. So the 3 1 1, and in order to be not consecutive as well, so the 3 1 1 has to be in this order. Now already we can see that 3 is automatically onto this, so it can't be a 3, so this has to be a 1, which means in turn this value has to be 0. And if this value is 0, this D is going to be formed by 2 ones. So that one has to be this, and this has to be 1, and that one has to be this in order to be not to be consecutive. So this value is 1, and this value 1, and this value is automatically 0. Now one thing that you have to notice, that the question has stated that there has to be a single number here. Like 5 0, there has to be a 1 number here. It can be 1, it can be 3. We know it. It can be 3 and 1 in some order. We don't know it. Now 3 has to be here or here. In this order, we are noticed that 5 1 and 3 has to come here. Automatically I'm seeing that this value cannot be anything, because since the numbers are going occupied here, here, and here, so this value has to be a 0, and this value has to be 0. So the only spot for 3 is here is 3. Now 6 are going to be made with 2 numbers, and 1 number is already occupied to be 3. So this value has to be a 0, and this value has to be a 3, which means this value has to be 0. So at the end of the day, we could not figure out whether this position is 1/3 or whether this position is 3/1. So we are not so sure between these candidates, because we have run out of information of all those 4 boxes. So we'll skip on to it, and let's see how much we can solve, or whether there's a perfect solution for this. What was the position of horse F in race 4? So race 4 is this, and horse F race 4 is the, you can say, second position. Now important is this second position, or second, like we have to write position, not the marks. What is the ratio of the points scored by G and E in race 5, and G and E in race 5? So race 5 is here, G and E. So it can be actually like 1:3, or it can be actually 3:1. G and E, because it can be 1:3, or it can be basically 3:1. So we are not so sure actually. It can be 1/3, or it can be 3/1. So the answer is cannot be determined. Answer is cannot be determined. So the third question is, the first 3 rankers of race 3 in order are, in some order are. The first 3 rankers of race 3. Race 3 in some order, we have C, E, and G. C, E, G. C, G, first is the correct answer. D earned his point in, so D has earned his point in race 2 and race 4. Race 2 and race 4. So C is the correct option. So this was a fairly easy set. There were not, so you can say, a lot of thinking. All you have to do is to just figure out whether like how to draw the structure, and how to, you can say, fill the blocks pretty well. One thing I will say, always remember in these kind of sets, always start from those places where have the least amount of, you can say, possibilities or definite values, such as in this position there were A, I, and H, which are clearly possible. And second thing is that always start from big numbers and small numbers. It would be extremely helpful for you. So thank you so much for this set.